Oh, hi. It's been a long time since we last met. Quite a long time actually. Anyways, let's leave that aside. In today's video, I'm going to create a fan-made animation of Tantadan anime in my own style. The idea for this video came from two specific videos that inspired me, so a big shout out to Gabby and Bunny because their work gave me the motivation to take on this project. But here's the catch, I'm creating this animation entirely in Ibis Paint except for the sound effects because Ibis Paint doesn't have this feature. And I also want to try the animation feature in Ibis Paint again to see how much it has improved. Because the last time I used it, I encountered many issues like glitches and render issues. Since it has been a while, I was curious to see if they made any improvement or not. So without any delay, let's get started. First of all, to create an animation, I need a storyboard which will help me to know how many scenes I need to create and how they will look like. For this, I took multiple references mainly from the original anime and some from the Pinterest to plan out my scenes. Okay, so my storyboard is complete and I know this is not the professional way to create a storyboard, but it works for me. For my first shot, I use the storyboard as a guide to draw the main key poses. I start by sketching the first and last frame. After that, I draw a keyframe in the middle to maintain the consistency in motion. These keyframes act as a foundation, helping me to place the in-between frames more accurately and make the animation smooth and looks natural. Now it's time for cleanup. However, the layer management in Ibis Paint is not very efficient because if you are working on multiple layers, then you have to manually create the layers for each frame. But as compared to other apps like Flipperclip, all the layers are connected. This means that if you create a new layer in one frame, it automatically appears in all the frames, which save a lot of time. For coloring to ensure better control and flexibility, I will start by creating multiple layers. For example, I will keep the skin color on a separate layer while the clothes and hair will each have their own layers. To speed up the coloring process, I will use tools like Bucket Tool for quickly filling large areas and the Lasso Fill tool for precise and controlled coloring. These tools not only make the process faster but also more enjoyable. My first shot is almost complete. Now only the background is left to be added. For the background, I decided to create a transition where the background transforms into a dark empty void with red bright aura emitting from our main character to make his transformation more cooler. And for this, I am using liquefied pen tool to easily create this cool power up effect. And with that, my first shot is complete. Now similarly, I will create the second and third shot in which our main character's front view is shown. He looks into the camera and his mask appears. Again, I am using the storyboard panels to save time. As you can see, Ibis Paint offers many useful tools that can help you to complete your task quickly and efficiently, such as the mirror tool, lasso tool, etc. There are many similar tools available that makes the animation process more faster. So my rough animation with the mask was almost complete and I was arranging the layers, putting them in the folders when this happened. My file crashed. At first, I was scared that it might have been deleted, but thankfully, Ibis Paint has a restore option through which I was able to recover my file and it took me around 20 to 30 minutes and my file was restored. Now I continue with the cleanup and coloring process. But just when I thought everything was going smoothly, guess what? My file crashed again. At this point, I was crying on the inside. I had to restore a file that had already been restored once. It took me another 30 minutes or more to recover. After restoring my file again, I focused on completing the coloring part. Once that was done, I move on the background. Just like before, I use the liquefied tool and blur filter to create his background. I was almost finished with the background when suddenly my file crashed again, but this time it was different. Instead of a random crash, my iPad ran out of storage since I had been screen recording the entire process. The impact frames look a little off, so I added few more frames. For the background, I simply download it from the pre-made backgrounds from the Ibis Paint gallery. With this, our fourth and fifth shot are complete. Finally, it's time for the last three shots, which are directly referenced from this clip. Since I already have a reference, I don't need to spend too much time planning the movements. I just need to recreate them in my own style. These last three shots mainly focus on flashy, high energy scenes, including intense smoke effects and rapid frame transitions. . To create the smoke effect, I use the special lasso fill tool along with multiple blur filters. in this scene. I also used the blur filter to create a depth of field effect. For the background, I reused the previous backgrounds and simply zoom in to adjust the perspective. This saved me a lot of time, and with that, my last shot is finally complete. Now it's time for the final step. I export all the shots from the IBIS Paint and import them into VN editing app to add sound effects. After syncing the audio to the animation, everything comes together perfectly. So here is my final result. And that's it. After a 1 year gap in animation, this project was both fun and exciting for me, and I learned a lot from this project, and I did love to hear your thoughts, so let me know in the comments. And if you really enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more animation content. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next one. Until then, bye bye.